Welcome to Dog's Information. But what if it was the other way around? What if that dog was placed in your life on purpose, carrying a message? It has been trying to deliver to you every single day. I know how that sounds. It's easy to say a dog just wandered in. You saw a photo. A friend had a litter. You walked past the shelter on the wrong afternoon and walked out with the right dog. Coincidence? Bad timing? Good luck. But sit with it for a moment. Out of every person on this earth, every house, that dog could have ended up in every pair of hands that could have picked him up. He ended up looking at you. And once you understand what is actually happening inside a dog's heart and inside a dog's brain, the word coincidence starts to feel too small. Because a dog doesn't love the way we love. He doesn't keep score. He doesn't wait for you to earn it. He shows up every day with the same impossible amount of devotion. And he asks for almost nothing back. That is not normal. That is not how the world usually works. And if you've ever felt deep down that your dog was sent to you at exactly the moment you needed him most, I don't think you're imagining it. So tonight, let's slow down and read the letter, because I believe every dog is carrying 7 messages. 7 things he came into your life to say. And by the time we reach the last one, you may never look at him sleeping at your feet the same way again. Let's start with the first message, the simplest one, and the one we somehow need to hear the most. You are loved without conditions. Think about how much of human love comes with fine print. We love people when they're winning. We drift when they're difficult. We measure quietly whether we're getting back what we put in. Your dog does none of that. To your dog, it does not matter if you are rich or broke, healthy or sick, at the top of your life or the bottom of it. Whether you won today or lost, whether you're proud of who you are or ashamed of it, in your dog's eyes, you are still the best person in the entire world. That is not flattery. He simply doesn't have the machinery to see you any other way. And here is the part that undoes people. Your dog's love doesn't need a reason. He doesn't love you because you're impressive or beautiful or because you've got it all figured out. He loves you because you're you. Because you belong to him. That's the whole reason. That's the entire list. Stop and let that land. Because most of us go our whole lives waiting for someone to love us like that and never quite believe it's possible. And then this small creature does it silently in the corner of the room every single day, and we barely notice. The first message your dog carries is this: love was never supposed to be something you have to earn. He's just here to remind you that you already deserve it. Which leads straight into the second message. And this one answers a question a lot of you have quietly asked at 2 in the morning. Out of everyone, you were chosen. In a house full of people, a dog almost always picks one. One person to bond with more deeply than anyone else. And here's what most people get wrong about how that choice is made. It is not about food. Your dog did not choose the person who fills his bowl. Behaviorists will tell you the dog often bonds most tightly with the one who gets down on the floor with him, who looks him in the eye, who gives real attention, not the one handing out the most treats. Some people call this person the heart person, and you cannot buy your way into that role. You cannot bribe it. A dog's deepest loyalty is not for sale. So if your dog chose you, if he follows you from room to room, if he settles only when you come home, if his whole body changes the second you walk in, understand what that actually means. It means that of all the options available to him, a living being with his own preferences looked around and decided this one. This is my person. And once he's chosen you, he shows it in 100 small ways you might be reading as ordinary. The way he loses his mind when you walk through the door, that explosion of joy, that whole body celebration, that's not because he's hungry. He runs to greet you like that because you are his entire world coming home. The way he becomes your shadow, following you from the kitchen to the couch to the bathroom door, never quite letting you out of sight. Behaviorists call it proximity seeking. But in the wild, it means something simple. The pack follows the one it trusts most. He follows you everywhere on purpose. I've read the comments under videos like this one, thousands of them, and the same 3 words come up over and over, usually in capital letters, usually with an exclamation point. She picked me. He chose me. People need to say it out loud because somewhere inside they can't quite believe they were worthy of being chosen. So, let me say it plainly in case no one has told you. Your dog did not settle for you. He chose you. And that was the second message. Now the third one is gentler, and it's one we're all a little bad at. Slow down. Be here. Watch a dog on a walk with someone he loves. He could run ahead. He's faster. He's stronger. The whole world is one giant scent map, begging to be explored. But again and again, he slows down. He stops. He looks back and waits for you to catch up. Not because he has to, because being in sync with you matters more to him than getting there first. There's a word for what dogs do when we're struggling. Co-regulation. When you're anxious, your dog picks it up and instead of pulling away, he moves closer. He matches your breathing. He lends you his calm. When you're sick, a good dog doesn't smother you and doesn't abandon you. He just comes and sits nearby and breathes the same air as you quietly for as long as you need. No fixing, no advice, just presence. And there's a detail here that quietly breaks my heart every time I think about it. You have a whole world. You have a job, friends, hobbies, a phone full of other people, 100 things pulling at your attention. Your dog has one thing, you. His entire happiness rises and falls with your mood and your presence. When you leave, his world goes on pause until you come back. That's an enormous amount of love to place in one person's hands. And most of us are too busy to feel the weight of it. We are a species that is always somewhere else, replaying yesterday, dreading tomorrow, half watching our own lives through a screen. And here is this creature who has exactly one place he ever wants to be. Right here next to you, right now. The third message is almost embarrassing in how simple it is. Stop rushing past your own life. The moment you're in is the only one your dog has ever known how to live in. He'd like you to try it with him. The fourth message might be the hardest one for us to accept because it asks something of us we find nearly impossible. Let it go. Forgive. Here's something the science actually shows about dogs. They remember. They feel things, genuine emotions, real reactions to how they're treated. But a dog forgives faster than any human being you will ever meet. You can have a bad day. You can be short with him. Snap at him. Ignore him when he just wanted to be near you. And the moment you soften, the moment your voice goes gentle again, he comes right back. Tail already moving. The whole thing already forgotten. No grudge, no cold shoulder. No making you pay for it for 3 days. Imagine carrying that little resentment for anyone. We can't. We hold on to slights for years. We rehearse arguments in the shower. We let one bad sentence poison a whole relationship. And your dog, who has every reason to remember the times you got it wrong, chooses instantly and completely to let you back in. That's not because he's simple. It's because holding on was never worth more to him than being close to you again. The fourth message is one of the most spiritual things a creature can teach. Forgiveness isn't something you give the other person. It's something you give yourself so you can stop losing time you don't get back. Now we move into the deeper messages. And the fifth one is where a lot of people start to feel a chill down their spine. The good kind. You are seen fully. You cannot hide from someone who loves you. Here's a truth that surprises almost everyone. Your dog does not recognize you mainly by your face. He knows you by your scent, by the rhythm of your footsteps, by the exact sound of your voice. To a dog, you are a signature, written in a language we barely have. And that scent-based world lets him read you in ways that feel almost supernatural, but aren't. When you're sad, your body chemistry changes. When you're stressed, you release cortisol, the stress hormone through your skin and your breath. And your dog smells it instantly. Before you've said a single word before, you've even admitted it to yourself. He already knows. That's why on your worst nights, he's the one who crosses the room and puts his head on you without being asked. Behaviorists have a clinical name for it, empathic responding. But you already know it by a simpler name. He came when you were crying. And it's the same reason he does that strange little thing. You've probably scolded him for stealing your worn socks, dragging off the shirt you slept in, curling up on the laundry you just took off. He's not being naughty. He's choosing the things that smell the most like you, the real you, not perfume, and using them to comfort himself when you're gone. It's a scent security blanket. A child sucks their thumb. Your dog holds on to your smell. When you're away, he's quite literally wrapping himself in you. Think about what that means. There is a living being in your home who cannot be fooled by the face you put on for everyone else. He doesn't hear your excuses. He doesn't buy your "I'm fine." He smells the truth and he responds to the truth. In a world where we spend so much energy hiding how we really feel, your dog is the one soul you never have to perform for. The fifth message is this: you are not alone in what you're carrying. Someone in this house already knows, and he chose to come closer anyway. The sixth message is one your own body has been receiving without you even realizing it. You were sent someone to help you heal. This isn't poetry. It's chemistry. When your dog gazes softly into your eyes, both of you release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same one that flows between a mother and her newborn child. A study published in the journal Science back in 2015 found that dogs and humans share an oxytocin feedback loop. Your dog looks at you. The hormone rises in both of you and that pulls you closer, which raises it again. A quiet chemical embrace passing back and forth with no words at all. And it goes further. Your dog can act like a biological off switch for your stress. When you stroke him, when he leans into you, oxytocin goes up and cortisol, that same stress hormone, comes crashing down. His presence can pull your nervous system out of survival mode. That racing feeling in your chest at the end of a hard day. 15 minutes with a dog's head in your lap can genuinely turn the dial down. People who live alone, people who've lost someone, people fighting something heavy, they'll tell you the dog is the reason they got out of bed. And now you know it isn't just sentiment. It's happening inside your bloodstream. So consider the possibility that the exhausted night you first brought him home wasn't the night you saved a dog. Maybe it was the night something arrived to start saving you. The sixth message: healing doesn't always come as a miracle. Sometimes it comes as a warm weight against your side, lowering your heart rate one breath at a time. Which brings us to the seventh message, the one that stops people cold. He is standing guard over your life. Sometimes literally. Dog's nose is not just powerful. It borders on miraculous. Trained dogs can smell disease. Not in theory. In practice, dogs have detected cancers of the lung, the breast, the ovaries, picking up faint chemical compounds the body gives off long before any scanner does. Dogs can smell the drop in a diabetic's blood sugar and wake them in the middle of the night before it turns deadly. Read the stories real owners tell and you'll find the same sentence again and again. My dog saved my life. A lump no one had noticed. A collapse that never happened because a dog wouldn't stop nudging at 1:30 in the morning. And even when there's no medical emergency, your dog is still on duty. He appoints himself the guard at the door, the doorway sentry, watching the one-way in. He does his rounds at night while you sleep, patrolling a house he has decided is his to protect. He escorts you down the hallway and waits outside the bathroom because in his mind, you should never be unguarded, not even for a minute. And when he finally lies down and sleeps with his back turned toward you, understand that this is not him ignoring you. It's the opposite. Turning his back, exposing himself completely is the single most vulnerable thing a dog can do. He only does it with the one he trusts to keep him safe. He is telling you, I've got the door. You can rest. I've got you. That's the seventh message and maybe the clearest one of all. You were given a guardian. Something that watches over you, warns you, protects you, and asks for nothing but the right to stay by your side while it does. So, let's put the letter back together. 7 messages. Unconditional love. You were chosen. Be here now. Forgive. You are seen. You can heal. You are guarded. Read them in a row and tell me they don't sound exactly like the things we spend our whole lives praying to hear. Now, I want to be honest with you because you deserve honesty and not a cheap ending. There's one question that lives underneath all of this. And it usually comes at the worst moment, the moment you're afraid of losing him. People ask, if a dog was sent to me, does that mean I'll see him again? Will he find me? And I won't lie to you and pretend science can promise you a next life. It can't. That question belongs to faith. And faith is yours to hold however you need to. But here is what science can tell you. And it's not nothing. Researchers at Emory University put dogs into an MRI scanner and let them smell different scents. And only one scent lit up the reward center of the dog's brain. The brightest, brighter than other dogs, brighter than strangers, brighter even than their own scent. The smell of their human. And that reaction fired even when the person wasn't in the room, which means your dog carries a mark of you burned into his brain tied to joy that he can feel just by remembering your scent. So, here's the truth. I can actually stand behind. Science can't promise you a bridge on the other side. But everything it knows about dogs says that if there is any thread strong enough to follow through the dark and find its way back to you, it is this one. The bond. And in a dog, that bond isn't an idea. It's a scent. He'll never forget. A mark of love carved into the brain. A devotion that never once asked for a reason. Maybe that's the real message. Not that a dog is a coincidence you got lucky with, but that something out there looked at your life, your loneliness, your bad seasons, the parts of you that were sure you weren't worth much and answered it quietly with 4 legs and a heartbeat and a tail that has never once stopped believing in you. So tonight when he pads over and rests his head against you, like he's done 1,000 times, look at him a little longer. That's not just a dog. That's a message. And it's been trying to reach you this whole time. If any part of this touched something in you, do me one small favor. Go find your dog and tell him you got the message. And if you believe every dog is here for a reason, subscribe and stay with us because there is so much more this quiet friend has been trying to tell you. Thank you for listening. Go hug your dog. The hardest part was never the goodbye. It's the silence that comes after the empty bowl by the wall that you can't bring yourself to move. The spot on the floor where they always waited. The door that no one runs to anymore. If your house feels that quiet tonight, if you keep listening for paws that aren't coming, I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes. Because your dog's story did not end in that room. It didn't end when their breath went still. In a way, you may not expect it is still going on right now. And they are not nearly as far from you as this silence is making you feel. I know how heavy this is. And I know that somewhere out there someone has already told you it was just a dog. They don't understand. This was the one who met you at the door every single day. The one who stayed close when the rest of the world didn't. Losing that is real grief and you are allowed to feel every bit of it. So, I'm not going to rush you. I'm just going to walk you gently through what the psychic and healer Edgar Cayce believed happens to a dog in the first days after death. Hour by hour, day by day. And near the end, there's something meant just for you, the one who was left behind. Stay with me for that part. Let's start with the moment we fear the most. That final instant when the body goes still. We imagine it as an ending, a light switching off, our friend simply gone. But Cayce described it as almost the opposite. He said that in that moment, a dog's awareness does not shut down. It opens up. It expands. For an animal, he believed this passage is even gentler than it is for us. Because a dog doesn't carry what we carry. No fear of death, no regret, no clinging to the body. They don't spend their lives dreading this moment the way we do. So when it comes, they simply let it happen. They trust it the way they trusted you. And here is the part that brings so many people comfort. Cayce said that in that final instant, the pain goes first. Whatever your dog was carrying in their last days, the tired heart, the aching joints, the body that had stopped listening to them, it falls away all at once. There is no more sickness to fight. Just an overwhelming lightness, like a weight they'd carried for months suddenly lifted. He described it not as falling into darkness, but as waking up, like opening your eyes on a bright morning after the deepest sleep of your life. So, if you sat with your dog at the end and you're haunted by how still they became, hold on to this. What looked like an ending to you may have been for them the moment they finally stopped hurting. And Casey said something else about those very first seconds. He believed your dog is still standing right at the edge, close to this world, glancing back one last time. And in that glance, they see you. They see your tears. They feel your grief pouring out. So their very first act before they go anywhere is to turn that love back toward you. Case called it a wave of peace sent from the other side, as if to say, "I'm okay. Now, please don't suffer for me." So many people describe a strange calm washing over them in the worst moment. A peace that made no sense given the pain. He would tell you that peace was real. That was the last gift and the first from a friend who never stopped trying to comfort you. So where do they wake up? What is the first thing your dog knows on the other side? Casey said the very first thing they notice is their own body because it works again. The old dog who could barely stand in those final months suddenly finds their legs underneath them. The paws that dragged now answer instantly. There's no stiffness, no pain, no fatigue holding them back. A dog who had gone blind or lost their hearing wakes up perceiving everything with a sharpness beyond even their younger years. Imagine that for a second. If you spent the last stretch watching your dog struggle to climb the stairs or lose their way in a room they'd known their whole life. Case would tell you that struggle is already over. He said, dogs feel a kind of spontaneous joy in those first moments simply from rediscovering everything their body can do again. It's like a runner who's been injured for years, finally breaking into a full sprint. And this new body, he said, isn't bound by the rules we know. A dog there can move by thought alone. They think of a place, and they're already in it. Which brings us to the first place so many of them think of you. But your dog does not wake up in that new world alone. Not for a single moment. And who comes to meet them may be the most comforting thing Case ever described. He said that no soul crosses that threshold by itself, and least of all a dog. Because dogs spent their whole earthly lives building bonds of love. So love is exactly what comes back for them. Case described 3 kinds of presences waiting on the other side. The first, and maybe the most tender, are the other animals who went before. If you had another dog, a cat, any companion who passed years ago, they are there. They remember. And the reunion, he said, happens with a joy more explosive than anything you ever saw in your living room. Souls recognize each other instantly beyond bodies, beyond time. It doesn't even matter if the two never met in this life. If they shared the same home, the same family, the same love, they know each other at once. The second kind of presence Casey called animal guardians. Evolved animal souls who have chosen a mission to receive and guide others through the crossing. Think of them as gentle mentors who understand exactly what a newly arrived dog is feeling. The confusion, the longing, the strangeness of it all. Without a single word, they offer the same message. You're safe. We're snorts here. We'll show you the way. And the third presence is the one that catches people off guard. Casey said dogs are also met by people, not strangers. Humans who loved animals deeply in their own lives and chose to stay close to welcome them. It might be a grandparent who passed years ago and adored dogs just like you do. Someone who carries the love of your family waiting at the door so that your dog arrives not to an empty place but to a welcome to something that already feels like home. And Casey noticed one more gentle detail about this welcome. He said the guardians never force your dog to change all at once. A dog who was protective in life may still at first want to stand guard over something. A dog who loved to play still wants to play, and they're allowed to. They get to stay themselves with all their little habits and quirks while they slowly find their footing. But among all these presences, he said, there's usually one with a very specific job. One whose only task is to keep your dog connected to you. Because while you're still here, that bond stays alive. And someone on the other side helps your dog hold that thread of love without getting lost in it. That's the one who teaches your dog the most important lesson of all, that they can still feel, you still reach. You still send their love across even now. So they are safe, they are whole, they are surrounded. And yet in these first few days, Casey said, your dog keeps doing one thing over and over. They come back to you. Have you felt it? That impossible sense that they're still here. A weight settling onto the end of the bed at night. the jingle of a collar in the hallway, paws crossing the floor behind you. And you turn and there's nothing there. Almost everyone tells you it's just grief playing tricks on a tired mind. Casey spent his life saying it is not. He believed that in those first days your dog hasn't fully moved on yet because the bond with you is still pulling at them. And in that world, he said, distance doesn't exist. Thought and presence are the same thing. So the moment you think of your dog with love, with that deep ache in your chest, you're building a bridge and they feel it instantly. He described something that will stay with you. He said, dogs perceive your emotions as waves of color and light. Your sadness reaches them as a heavy, darkened wave. Your love arrives as something warm and bright and gold. And when they feel your pain, their instinct is exactly what it always was in life, to come close and comfort you. That's why so many people in the days after feel a sudden, unexplainable peace right in the middle of their crying. Case would say that's not your imagination softening the blow. That's your dog doing the only thing they've ever wanted to do when you hurt. And there's one more doorway. He said they use the clearest one of all. Your dreams. If you dream of your dog soon after losing them and the dream feels almost too real, too vivid to be ordinary, Case believed that is a genuine meeting. If they come to you young again, healthy, running, free, looking straight into your eyes, it isn't wishful thinking. It's a message. I'm here. I'm okay. I still love you. And Casey believed this bridge runs both ways. You can reach for them too. Not with words. Exactly, but with intention, with feeling. When you close your eyes and picture your dog, when you look at their photo and murmur, I hope you're okay, my love. He said, that isn't a wish thrown into empty air. It's a real message and it lands. Many people do this without even realizing what they're doing. And the answer, when it comes, arrives softly. A sudden wave of peace you didn't expect. A dream so vivid it stays with you all day, or just a quiet certain knowing deep in your chest that they are all right. If you felt any of that since you lost them, Case would tell you to trust it. That was them answering you. And that longing to stay close, there's a deeper reason behind it. One that changes how you might want to carry the next few weeks. Let me show you. Because something else is happening in those first days quietly underneath everything. Casey said the other side isn't only a place of reunion. It's a place of healing. And this healing goes far past the body they left behind. Every dog over a lifetime gathers more than memories. They gather impressions. Some full of love and warmth, but others darker. Fear, abandonment. The ache of old wounds. Think of the dog rescued from the street who knew hunger and cold and cruelty long before they ever knew you. You gave them years of safety. But somewhere inside that early fear was still written into them. Casey said the other side gently washes those marks away, not all at once, but in layers softly, the way you'd clean a wound with the greatest care. He described that place as filled with a kind of pure loving light. And animals free of all the walls we humans build simply soak it in. And the guardians help, too. Imagine your dog still carrying the old belief that they could be left behind again. A guardian comes close and without words tells them the truth. You were never truly abandoned. You were always loved. That was just part of the path that led you home. And slowly the old fear loosens its grip. The memory doesn't vanish, but it stops hurting. It becomes just a part of their story, no longer an open wound. Even the echo of physical pain fades. A dog who spent their final weeks struggling to breathe, still at first carries the memory of it. But bit by bit in that light, even that dissolves until all that's left is peace. So if your dog's last months were hard, if there were things you couldn't fix, no matter how you tried, let this ease you. Wherever they are now, Case believed they are being made whole. Again. And in that healing, he said, something quietly dawns on them. Your dog begins to understand, not in words, but in a way that's total and certain what their whole life beside you actually meant. Every time they made you laugh, every time they pressed close when you were falling apart, and no one else knew. Every walk, every greeting at the door, every long look across the room, they come to see that none of it was small. It wasn't just a dog living a dog's life. It was a soul on a mission, and the Mission was you to love you and to be loved by you all the way through. And when a dog finally understands that, Casey said, they reach a peace deeper than anything words can hold. They know their life mattered. They know they did exactly what they came here to do. Which leads to the question almost every grieving heart asks. How long do they stay? When do they go? And the honest answer is that there's no single clock for it. Every bond is different. But Casey's did describe a rhythm most dogs seem to move through. The first phase he called the immediate vigil, and it usually lasts about 3 to 7 days. In this stretch, they're closest to you, almost living in two worlds at once, still returning again and again to be near. Then comes a second phase, maybe 2 to 6 weeks, when the signs grow quieter. You might go days feeling nothing. And then out of nowhere, a vivid dream or a sudden sense that they're right beside you. The third phase, somewhere from 6 weeks to 3 months, he called full integration. By then, your dog has healed, settled, and truly arrived in that new world. They visit less, not because they've forgotten you, not ever that, but because they're finally home. Clothes and body for weeks or months, but connected to you soul to soul with no expiration date at all. And now we come to the part one promised. The part that isn't about your dog at all. It's about you. The one still here. The one carrying this. So, I want to say the thing you may have been aching to hear from someone. You did the right thing. If you're lying awake replaying it all, wondering if you let go too soon or held on a day too long, I need you to hear this. That agony you feel is not proof that you failed. It is proof of how much you loved. Nobody who didn't love deeply would torture themselves this way. There was no perfect moment, no flawless choice, only a person doing their absolute best for a friend who never once doubted them. Your dog didn't spend their last breath judging your timing. They spent it, grateful for the whole life you gave them. And please let yourself grieve. If it's been weeks, months, even years, and you still cry, still reach for a leash that isn't there, still say their name out of habit. You are not broken, and you are not doing this wrong. This kind of love doesn't come with a deadline for missing it. It gets lighter. I promise you it does. Not because you love them less, but because in time the grief slowly turns back into what it was made from, gratitude. And if there's another dog in your home right now watching the door, sniffing the empty bed off their food, they feel this loss too. They're grieving their friend in their own quiet way. The kindest thing you can do is grieve it together. Let them lean on you and lean right back. And when you're ready, and only when you're ready, there's one more gift. You can give the dog you lost. Casey said that the day your pain slowly turns toward gratitude. The day you can whisper, I love you, miss you, but I want you to go and be free. You set them gently onward on their own journey. And here's the beautiful part. He promised. When you release them like that with love instead of clinging, the bond between you doesn't break. It purifies. It becomes something higher and lighter but every bit as strong. Letting them go was never the same as losing them. It's the last bravest way of loving them well. Case ended his readings on this with an image I keep coming back to. He said to picture the whole universe as one great circle. You and your dog are 2 points on it. In this life, it can feel like you're on opposite ends, farther apart than anything. But the truth is, neither of you ever left the center of that circle. And the center is love. You're both still resting in it, exactly as close as you've always been. And when the circle comes around, when your two paths meet again, it will feel like you were never apart at all. Because in the language of real love, goodbye was never the right word. It was only ever see you soon. Your dog always knew that. And now so do you. Before you go, let me give you one small thing you can actually do tonight. Not to fix the grief. Nothing fixes it but to hold it somewhere gentle. Choose one quiet minute this evening. Light a small candle and just say their name out loud. Then find one object that was truly theirs. The collar, a worn tag, a favorite toy. And set it somewhere you'll see it, not hidden away in a drawer. Grief that's shut in the dark furs. Grief that's given a small loving place to rest slowly begins to heal. That candle, that name, that little corner. It tells your own heart that this love mattered because it did. If you've made it this far, I'd love for you to do one more thing. In the comments below, tell me their name. Just their name and one thing you'll never forget about them. Let's fill this space with the dogs we've loved, so that none of them are forgotten and none of us grieve alone. And if you felt them near while you watched this, you weren't imagining it. Stay with me and soon I'll share the quiet signs Casey said a dog sends to let you know they're still okay. Until then, give the ones still beside you an extra minute tonight. They can feel it. They always could. When a dog is quietly suffering, the most common thing they do isn't hide. It's the opposite. In a study of 426 owners, the number one change wasn't withdrawal. It was the dog needing you more. And most owners read that as being annoying. Here's what makes this so hard to catch. Vets don't actually diagnose dogs with depression. What they look for is a change from how your dog normally is. So, there's no universal checklist. There's only your dog and who they used to be. Stay with me through number 7. That's the one almost every owner gets backwards. Let's start with the sign that's easiest to see and easiest to explain away. Number 1, they stop wanting the things they used to love. Not everything, just one thing. The tug rope they used to drag across the floor at 7 every evening. The spot by the window, the particular corner of the park where they always pulled harder. Dr. Leslie Sin is a veterinarian and a board-certified veterinary behaviorist. She describes it as a dog no longer being willing to engage in activities that previously they seemed to really enjoy. And in that study of 426 owners, playing less was reported by 57% of them, more than half. Here's what you probably told yourself. He's grown out of it. She got bored of that toy. He's not a puppy anymore. Sometimes that's true. Dogs do outgrow things. But there's a difference between a dog who's traded one game for another and a dog whose whole list is getting shorter. One is growing up, the other is closing down. Ask yourself a hard question. In the last 6 months, has anything been added to the list of things your dog loves? Or has the list only ever lost items? Number 2, they're sleeping more and you've decided that's just what dogs do. 35% of owners in that same research reported their dogs sleeping more than before. And this one hides better than almost any other sign because dogs sleep a lot. That's normal. A healthy adult dog can spend a huge portion of the day asleep and be perfectly fine. So the question isn't how much. The question is when and where and what it replaced. Did they used to lift their head when you walked past? Do they still? Did they used to follow you into the kitchen, and now they open one eye and stay put? Did they used to sleep in the middle of the room, in the traffic, in the noise, and now they sleep somewhere further out? Sleep that grows to fill the space where something else used to be is different from sleep that's just rest. Nobody notices a dog sleeping. That's exactly why it works as a hiding place. Number 3, they're eating less, but not in a way that scares you. 32% of owners reported reduced eating. This one is sneaky because it almost never arrives as a refusal. A dog who won't touch food gets a vet appointment that afternoon. Every owner knows that. What actually happens is quieter. They eat, but slower. They leave a little. They still take the treat from your hand, but they no longer come running when they hear the bag. And then you adapt. You start adding something to the bowl. A bit of warm water, a spoon of something, and it works. So, you keep doing it. And 6 weeks later, you've completely forgotten there was ever a problem because you solved it before you named it. That's the trap with appetite. Owners are so good at compensating that the sign disappears into the routine. If you're adding something to the bowl now that you weren't adding a year ago, that's data. Write it down. Number 4, they pull away from people and from the other animals in the house. The American Kennel Club lists social withdrawal from both people and other pets as one of the signs to watch for. Most owners are watching the human half of that. You'd notice if your dog stopped greeting you at the door. That's loud. But the other half is silent. The 2 dogs who used to sleep touching and now sleep in separate rooms. The one who used to be in the middle of everything when guests came over and now leaves after 10 minutes and doesn't come back. Nobody logs that. There's no moment where it happens. There's just a slow drift. And one day you realize you can't remember the last time they slept together. And here's the part that makes it hard. A dog who leaves the room isn't doing anything wrong. There's nothing to correct, nothing to clean up, nothing that interrupts your evening. So, it never rises to the level of a problem. It just becomes the new normal. And the new normal is the most dangerous thing on this list. Number 5. The sound changes. 30% of owners reported increased vocalization, more whining, more of that sound in the night that you half-wake to and go back to sleep through. But this isn't really about volume. It's about which sound. There's a study from 2021 by Len K. and colleagues published in Scientific Reports that found something genuinely useful here. Dogs who scored high on fear tended to whine and not bark. Dogs who scored high on demanding behavior, the frustrated ones, the ones who want something, barked more and scratched at the door sooner. Sit with that for a second. The dog who is barking, scratching, making your neighbors angry. That dog gets help. That dog gets a trainer. A vet visit a plan because that dog is a problem you have to solve. The frightened dog whines quietly at 3 o'clock in the morning. And nobody books an appointment for a dog who whines a little. The dogs who need the most help are often making the least noise. That's not a metaphor. That's what the data shows. Number 6. They've gotten jumpier and you can't point to a reason. 35% of owners reported increased fearfulness. The doorbell that never used to matter. The vacuum that was fine for 6 years. The wheelie bin outside. The visitor they used to love who now gets a wide berth and a weary look. This is the one people take personally. It feels like a step backwards. It feels like something you did or something you failed to do, and it's embarrassing in front of other people. So the temptation is to push through it to make them meet the visitor, to walk them past the thing to prove that it's fine. Please don't. The ASPCA is direct about this. Their guidance is not to scold or punish an anxious dog because anxious behavior is not the result of disobedience or spite. It's a distress response. A dog who gets corrected for being frightened doesn't stop being frightened. They just stop showing you. And that's the mechanism that builds the dog in sign number 9. Hold on to that. Now, number 7. This is the one I promised you, and it's the one that turns this whole list around. You're picturing a sad dog as a quiet dog, curled up, facing the wall, not interested. That's the image everyone has, and it's the image every article uses. But in that research on 426 owners, the number 1 reported change. Ahead of playing less, ahead of eating less, ahead of every single thing we've covered was an increase in attention-seeking behavior. 67%. 2 out of every 3 dogs. The most common response was to come closer. And the American Kennel Club's guidance says exactly this. A dog going through it can show up in 2 opposite ways. They can withdraw and disengage, or they can become clingy and needy and want to be nearer to you. In general, 2 opposite presentations. And almost every owner is only looking for one of them. So think about what that means in a real house on a real evening. The dog who won't settle, who follows you to the bathroom, who puts their head on your keyboard while you're trying to finish something, who nudges your hand for the 4th time in 10 minutes while you're watching something you actually wanted to watch. What do we call that? Dog needy, attention-seeking, clingy, a bit much tonight. All words that mean the same thing, that this behavior is a nuisance to be managed, not a message to be read. So, we manage it gently, lovingly, without a second thought. We move the paw off the laptop. We say, "Not now." We turn the shoulder. We give them a chew to keep them busy so we can finish the episode. And the dog gets exactly one signal from all of that. The thing I did to ask for help made the help go further away. Here's the cruelty of it. The most common way a struggling dog reaches for you is also the way that's most likely to get them pushed back. That's why it's number 7. Not because it's rare, it's the most common sign there is, but because it's the one that's most reliably misread. Withdrawal at least worries us. Clinginess just irritates us. If your dog has gotten more demanding of your attention in the last few months, and you've been treating that as a behavior problem, it might be worth treating it as information instead. If nothing else in this video sticks, let that be the part that does. And if this is making you look at your dog a little differently tonight, a like genuinely helps this reach other owners who need it. Number 8. They start having accidents in the house again. Inappropriate elimination indoors is on the AKC's list of things to watch for, and it's the sign most likely to get a dog punished because it's the only one on this list that costs you something. A dog who sleeps more costs you nothing. A dog who ruins a rug costs you a rug. So this is where patience runs out and where the word bad usually gets used for the first time. But a house-trained adult dog who starts having accidents is telling you that something has changed physically, mentally, or both. And in an older dog, the overlap gets genuinely serious. The Merck Veterinary Manual describes cognitive dysfunction in aging dogs as similar in some ways to Alzheimer's disease in people with signs that include decreased social interaction, loss of house training, disorientation, and changes in sleep patterns. Read that list again and compare it to this video. Decreased social interaction. That's number 4. Loss of house training. That's this one. Changes in sleep. That's number 2. 3 of the signs you'd call sadness are also 3 of the signs of something happening in an aging brain. And that's before we get to kidney disease, diabetes, or a urinary tract infection, all of which can produce exactly the same puddle on exactly the same floor. You cannot tell these apart from the couch. Nobody can. That's not a failure of attention. Number 9. They've gotten very still and everyone keeps telling you how good they are. When a dog is frightened, there are 4 classic ways it can come out. Fight, flight, freeze, or fidget. VC. Animal Hospitals describes freezing as a dog going completely still in the face of something threatening, hoping it passes without noticing them often when the dog feels trapped with a stiff, tense body, avoided eye contact, and ears back. Now, here's the crucial part, and I want to be very careful with it. Lying still is normal. It's the healthy default. Dogs left alone spend most of their time resting quietly. And a dog asleep on the floor is usually just a dog asleep on the floor. The red flag isn't stillness. It's the quality of the stillness. A resting dog is soft. Hips rolled over, weight dumped into the floor. Slow blink breathing. That's easy. And over time they get looser. They melt. A shut-down dog holds. Sphinx position, legs folded underneath, weight gathered, panting. When it isn't warm. Eyes either too wide or pointedly turned away. And over an hour, nothing relaxes. The tension just stays. There's also a reason this gets missed that has nothing to do with you being unobservant. Research by Van Roy and colleagues found that owners are far better at recognizing behavior that leaves evidence, the chewed door frame, the mess, than behavior that leaves nothing behind. Pacing, restlessness, stillness. So the dog who destroys the sofa gets a behaviorist. And the dog who lies rigid in the corner for 6 hours gets told he's such a good boy. Number 10. They've slowed down and you've decided it's just age. I've saved this one for last because it's the most likely to be true of your dog and the most important to get right. Dr. Lizzie Sin, the veterinary behaviorist from earlier, puts it about as bluntly as a clinician can. She says that if a dog is slowing down or is reluctant to engage, then she would bet huge amounts of money that it is medical or pain-related, not sadness, pain. And there's research behind that instinct. A 2020 study by Belshaw, Dean, and Asher, published in BMC Veterinary Research, interviewed owners of dogs with osteoarthritis. The walks got slower, shorter, and less enjoyable for everyone. And owners frequently didn't connect the early signals, lagging behind, less enthusiasm, reluctance to jump into the car or climb the stairs with pain at all. They put it down to old age. VCA names the belief directly and rejects it. They call it a misconception that older pets don't play or interact with people because they're old. Healthy senior dogs keep their interest in the people they love. When that interest fades, it's a reason to look, not a reason to shrug. Which brings us to the rule that sits underneath this entire video. The Merck Veterinary Manual states that when presented with a patient with undesirable behavior, the veterinarian must first exclude any medical problem that might be causing or contributing to it. VCA puts it even more plainly. A final diagnosis of a behavioral cause. can only be made after all medical factors have been ruled out. Look at what can produce this exact list. Arthritis, dental disease, and a painful mouth explains a dog who eats slower and leaves food. Thyroid disease, Cushing's, kidney and liver problems, failing hearing or eyesight, which turns a confident dog into a startled one. Cognitive decline. Every one of those can look like a dog who's just a bit down. So, if you take one action from this video, don't make it a change to the routine. Make it a phone call. Dr. Jerry Clean, the AKC's chief veterinary officer, advises that a dog showing behavior change, lethargy, or decreased appetite shouldn't be assumed by the owner to be depressed. That dog should be examined promptly with blood work and diagnostics to rule out an underlying condition. Rule out the body first, always, then treat the mood. So, what actually helps? Once the medical side is clear, the AKC's guidance is refreshingly ordinary. Spend more time together. Add walks they'll genuinely enjoy. Build in play. Build in grooming. The contact matters. And in cases involving trauma, work with a behavior professional rather than going it alone. There's one more piece worth knowing about. Dr. Amy Atis points out that what owners call depression is very often simply a lack of enrichment. Something that can be addressed by changing the dog's environment and routine without medication at all. That's a genuinely hopeful sentence. It means the fix is frequently something you already own. A puzzle feeder instead of a bowl. A new route instead of the same street. 20 minutes of real undistracted interaction, not sharing a room, actually engaging. And medication isn't the first move. As ATIS puts it, we don't medicate out of convenience for the owner. Fluoxetine, when it is prescribed, is used for anxiety and behavioral problems rather than for depression, as we'd mean it in a person, and it takes 2 to 4 weeks to reach a level in the blood that changes anything. What not to do is shorter and it matters more. Don't punish it. The AKC is clear that grieving behavior shouldn't be harshly punished. And the ASPCA is clear that anxious behavior isn't disobedience or spite. A dog who's corrected for showing distress doesn't stop feeling it. They just stop showing you and you lose the only instrument you had. And I want to close by taking something off your shoulders. You didn't miss these because you weren't paying attention. You missed them because every single one has a reasonable explanation sitting right next to it. He's older. She's lazy. He's clingy tonight. She's just being good. Those explanations aren't stupid. Half the time they're correct. That's exactly what makes the other half so hard to see. And most of this passes. In that research, the changes lasted under 2 months for a good portion of dogs. And the AKC, citing a study in the journal Animals, notes that behavior typically returns to normal within 2 to 6 months. 13% of dogs showed no lasting change at all. Your dog isn't broken and you're not late. Go look at them tonight. Not for a symptom, just look. Ask yourself who they were a year ago and whether anything on this list has quietly moved. Then tell me in the comments which number was your dog. I read them and I think a lot of people are about to find out they're not the only one. And if number 7 landed, if you've been calling it clinginess this whole time, there's a whole language your dog is using that we haven't touched yet. I break that down. Thanks for watching and like and subscribe, share please.